everyone, B.O.R.G here, and in this video I will be giving you my thoughts and review on Ghost of Yōtei, the second entry in Sony's Ghost franchise. Ghost of Tsushima, the first game in the series, was released in 2020 by Sucker Punch, the devs that made Sly Cooper games, the infamous games, a game called Rocket Robot on Wheels, which I never even heard of, let alone played, which was a platformer for the Nintendo 64. And the latest franchise is the Ghost games, Ghost of Yōtei being their latest game they made. A quick look back on Ghost of Tsushima. It was an open-world action-adventure game in which you controlled Jin Sakai, a samurai warrior on his path to liberate his home island from the Mongol invasion and avenge his fallen comrades. If I had to rate it now, I would give it maybe an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9 out of 10, but most likely an 8 out of 10. In Ghost of Yōtei, you take control of Atsu, a mercenary with a dark past, where her whole family was killed for the actions of her father Kengo, from what it seems. She barely escaped with her life from the Yōtei 6, the group that is responsible for this atrocity. After spending 16 years fighting wars in the south refers everything south of the northernmost island in Japan, Hokkaido, and gaining some much needed strength and experience, Atsu returns home to exact revenge on the Yōtei 6. A nice backdrop to Atsu's quest is the war between the Matsumae and the Saito clan. The Matsumae clan are typical samurai, looking down on everyone else and are looking to bring progress at any cost to the region of Ezo, whether the locals want it or not. They place great stock in heritage and believe that social classes are fixed and that people should stick to the role they were born into. The Saito clan, the leader of which is Lord Saito, that leads the Yōtei 6, are more compromising in their beliefs. They fight against the shogun, in whose name the Matsumae fight, and accept everyone in their ranks, regardless of social status or gender. While their recruiting methods and standards might be commendable, they are not without fault and have many people in their ranks that are repugnant and despicable. First off, I have to say that this game has more character development in the first few hours than Ghost of Tsushima has in most of the game. However, the difference in the narrative quality isn't as big as I thought it would be, though it's still better, but I'll get to that later. Ghost of Yōtei, like its predecessor, is an open-world action-adventure game. Don't think this is an Ubisoft type of slog game. First of all, the game has a very fitting and non-intrusive way to guide you to objectives, whether it be a pin that you place on a map or a location or a mission on the map that you choose to go to. If you swipe on the DualSense touchpad, you will see the wind guide you to wherever you choose to go. No arrows or compass. There is a compass actually when you pull out your spyglass. So exploration feels very natural and doesn't break immersion. While on your way to somewhere, you will often come upon a thing to do, whether it be a bamboo strike that increases the max capacity of your spirit, previously known as Resolve, a hot spring that increases your max health and is a sight for sore eyes. A fox shrine or a shrine on a mountaintop that reward you with various charms and the like. The thing is, it's amazing the way Sucker Punch managed to convey to the player what activity is found where, from afar. If you see these small stone statues, a reflection altar is near that gives you skill points. Black smoke plumes indicate places occupied by enemies that can be liberated. These somewhat phallic-shaped rocks indicate a sumi painting minigame nearby, rewarding you with vanity gear. Plumes of steam with bonsai-like trees with red leaves indicate hot springs, and so on. Of course, the birds that help you to navigate to side activities are present in this game too, so you can follow them. This is a great way to present side content to the player non-intrusively, while leaving the choice whether to engage with the side content to the player, rather than relying on a map chock full of icons. Overall, great design. Next, I will talk a bit about side quests. These vary from smaller side quests given by various NPCs that are often solved quickly, to hunting bounties for monetary and vanity gear rewards, and the amazing legends that upon solving the mystery will usually reward you with new armor. Even the smaller and more inconsequential side quests have bite-sized, self-contained stories, while some characters in side quests even return to appear elsewhere. The bounties will give you targets on bounty boards spread throughout various towns that will end in duels with the target. The Legends side quests have amazing brush-style intros that tell you the story of a certain legend, leading Atsu to explore them further, and these are told by Ugetsu the storyteller. These side quests are magnitudes above the more numerous smaller side quests, and most feature a unique setting and cool story of their own. Whatever you do, please visit this location in Tokachi Range and do the Legend side quest that will be given by Ugetsu there. It's so damn good, and you can thank me later. Another great addition to the game is the various weapon masters spread throughout the game that will reward you with new weapons, but only after you master them. These quests are no simple affairs, and you will spend days in intense training. Yeah, it would be more realistic if it took months or years, I know, but this is not a sim game. Getting to know the masters better and engage in inventive training methods, such as chopping down burning charcoal thrown from the fire by one of the masters. Another thing worth mentioning are the puzzles. These are pretty decent. They range from the stone statues that you have to arrange according to the clue written on them, unlocking puzzle boxes that are strewn about, but the absolute highlight are the puzzles you will be able to solve in Tashio Ridge, once you unlock the ability to read and understand a kind of language comprised of symbols. If you pay attention, you will see by what the symbols were inspired. It's pretty cool. Side activities like bamboo strikes, hot springs, or sumi-e, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, paintings, can be revealed by talking with NPCs who will give you a map that you will have to integrate, so to say, to the world map before the location for the side activity is revealed. You can also buy maps from Isaburo that will have the same effect, which is helpful, especially if you are a completionist and may be hunting for a platinum trophy. The combat is also improved. The various stances from the previous game are replaced by the various weapons that you need to master. The dual katanas are suitable for enemies wielding spears, the kusagigamas, the sickle-like weapons, are used to dispose of enemies with shields, the giant odachi sword is for killing brutes, and the spear is used for enemies wielding kusarigamas, and then there are multiple ranged weapons with great new additions, and the various quickfire weapons such as the kunai or the matsubushi, which is basically dirt used to throw enemies off balance for a short while. The flow of combat is smooth as butter, especially later as you progress and unlock more weapons, and enemies become tougher too. Enemies are no walk in the park either, by the way, and they wield 2 weapons each later in the game, so if an enemy has a spear, for example, he may switch to his sword mid-combat, or switch to a bow and arrow and shoot you from afar, while you are tied up by his fellow combatants in the fight. Now in Ghost of Tsushima I had a small complaint regarding combat, because sometimes when I tried to swiftly switch stances to adapt to enemies in combat, the command would not register, resulting in Jin awkwardly just jumping mid-combat. The flow and switching of weapons mid-combat in Yōtei is simply flawless, making the experience more enjoyable. Much like its predecessor, the combat is visceral and blood and sometimes limbs will fly all over the place. Now special praise must be given for the awesome animations and moves when you flick your blood-smeared weapon to clean the blood off. Man, whenever I see this I get a tingle in my wingle, if you know what I mean. Anyway, throwing weapons you find about in racks or from disarming enemies is very enjoyable and makes the combat that more dynamic. Another addition to the combat is your canine companion, which will sometimes aid you in combat, but as you complete wolf dance, you will get skills for it and deepen your bond. The wolf will appear more frequently and with new abilities and opportunities to help you. Now, one thing I noticed from the very start is that the game is harder than the first one, and I played on normal difficulty, bear in mind. I sometimes died while fighting random enemies, and I very often escaped with my life barely. Enemies are aggressive and change between their 2 weapons, forcing you to adapt mid-combat, And even when focusing on one enemy at a time, most likely you will almost always have ranged enemies in the distance shooting at you constantly. The duels I struggled way more with and would often die in them. Bear in mind that duelists too switch between two weapons, making them more challenging. I have no qualms about the difficulty being higher in this installment. It strikes a nice balance. As enemy variety goes, it's pretty standard for games like these. You have your soft targets wielding ranged weapons and pulling out a knife to defend themselves when approached. Big brutes are HP sponges and wield heavy clubs or ranged cannon-like weapons. And then there are the quote-unquote normal enemies that wield two weapons that you will have to contend with. Duels are more intimate affairs that are also noticeably harder, and the game sometimes reminded me of games like Elden Ring, with bosses that have moves that you will need to learn to anticipate and avoid or parry, and I never felt like this with Ghost of Tsushima. So needless to say, the combat is much better. Just like the first game, Ghost of Tsushima, this game features various badass looking armor sets, each of them suitable for different combat styles. Some favor ranged or stealth combat, for example, while others are used to aid exploration and discovery. What makes getting these armor sets even more satisfying to pursue are the very cool and interesting legend side quests attached to them. Not all though, some armor sets you get as you progress the story. You can further customize armors with various dyes available for sale from various merchants. All armors, together with a vast array of masks, headbands and hats, gives you the opportunity to make some amazing looking outfits. To complete your look, you can also customize the look of your weapon sheets. Very cool. The game features multiple environment settings, and the map will expand as you progress the story and cross the names of your revenge list. Each of these environments features unique looking enemies and have a distinct look and identity to them. My favorite area is the Teshio Ridge, a snow-covered area with unique puzzles in it and ninja-like enemies. You have probably noticed by now that the game looks great. I played on performance mode and had no performance issues whatsoever. I played on a base PS5. The graphical fidelity isn't on par with, say, Death Stranding 2 for example, but the beauty in this game lies rather in the artistic direction more, not that it looks rough or anything. I already said that the environments and enemies in them have their own looks and identities, and the game has amazing views peppered throughout, most readily available when doing the shrine climbing side activities. Yōtei to me looks more realistic in the sense that Yōtei doesn't look overwhelmingly colorful, but is more subdued with its vivid colors. On character development. In Ghost of Yōtei, characters talk much more. You get to spend time with them way more, including Atsu's family, through the flashback feature that is available at certain special places. The various minigames often have small character dialogue and characters being fleshed out. Even side quests most often have a small story attached to them, and this makes them feel more interesting. Atsu herself is more expressive and is given way more time to develop and interacts much more with other characters. Revenge stories are done to death in various media, but I was always of the mind that just because the story has an overdone core premise, it doesn't mean it will be bad, as execution is everything, in my opinion. Now, although I think that the narrative is better in Yōtei than in Ghost of Tsushima, I expected the gap in narrative quality to be a bit bigger, considering how much more time is given, not just to Atsu but many other characters, to develop and express themselves. But it is noticeably better, the narrative and the story that is. The ending though was somewhat abrupt and I liked the ending in Ghost of Tsushima much better. That's all I will say on that topic. A definite improvement in character development and game narrative overall. Another highlight of the game is music and it's simply awesome. Sucker Punch really leaned into the old western themes with Japanese instruments thrown into the mix. My favorite part is following the wolf as you clear Wolf Den. It's crazy with the music and for some reason it reminded me of Okami.
Yes.
Music is more chill when you do shrine climbing side activities, for example, providing a relaxing atmosphere. Overall, a great original soundtrack that will be remembered for a long time to come. New songs can be learned too, to play with your shamisen, and each song has a gameplay use, helping you to find things. As far as negative things go, I had only a few smaller visual bugs and a funny one where a Matsumaya samurai walked backwards, and that's about it as far as bugs go. Like I said, the ending I felt was very abrupt and fell short compared to the ending in Ghost of Tsushima. Another thing I still hate is the climbing, it's so fucking boring. This is not noticeable too much if you don't do the shrines, which are basically comprised of climbing and jumping. The problem is, like I said, that climbing is so damn boring and non-challenging. It's just a bore fest. I get that they are probably trying to break up the pace of the game a bit and provide variety, and I can appreciate that, but it's still lame and boring. That's about it as far as negative things go. So, overall, the game has amazing improved combat, great art direction and graphics, good character development and narrative, outstanding music, a wide array of customization, both aesthetically and in gameplay terms with various armor, dice for armor, and charms that provide various buffs and/or abilities. More tools are provided to make combat more fluent, involved, and dynamic. The implementation of side content and exploring is non-intrusive and interesting. The game features multiple environment settings, each with its own identity and enemy looks. Puzzles are pretty decent, especially once you learn to read the cipher for the puzzles in Teshio Ridge. Side activity numbers are dialed down and diversified more, so as to alleviate the boredom that can appear when focusing on doing the side content. The difficulty is raised and strikes a nice balance between challenging and annoyingly difficult. Some of its few negative traits in my opinion are: climbing is still annoying and overdone in shrine climbing side quests. I had some visual bugs, very few though, with one being amusing. The ending was a bit of a disappointment and abrupt in my opinion, and the difference in narrative quality is smaller than I thought it would be, considering how much more character development and interaction this game has, comparing to Ghost of Tsushima. So, in the end, I give Ghost of Yōtei a 10 out of 10, a masterpiece. Now, a 10 out of 10 doesn't mean a perfect game, but Ghost of Yōtei is an amazing game as a sequel compared to Ghost of Tsushima and as a game of its own. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know down in the comments below what do you think of this game and do you agree with my opinions on it. Until next time, see ya!